Perhaps in one sense, we're all migrants. We're all of us going through life trying to find a sense of home, trying to find a sense of belonging. Started the project around 2010. My dad was seriously ill at the time, and I kind of came to that realization that, you know, that generation and their history and their stories were slowly passing away, slowly fading away, sorry. I was aware that there wouldn't be any kind of memorials or plaques or statues for that generation. I kind of felt that I needed to preserve them within this work. The work initially was about observing my parents. They'd retreated from the outside world into their internalized space of the home, and the work for an initial degree focused on their lives within that space. In one sense, their own physical decline mirrored the decline of the industries within the black country which they came to work in. The issue or the story surrounding migration is always seen as a problematic thing. It's always seen as facts and figures and numbers. And what I wanted to do with this work was to look at it in terms of a human experience. It's a story, it's a narrative, it's a journey through someone's life. What was missing from that narrative was what happens when, you know, migrants come and don't go home. What happens when they age? I was intrigued by what their lives could have been if they'd chosen a different path, but also what Jamaica would have been. And I was convinced that I needed to go to Jamaica to continue this work. Memory is such an important aspect of the work. What was quite sad about the work was just as I was creating my own memories of Jamaica, my mother's memories of this space were disappearing or becoming warped and becoming something else. Something which I kind of thought could draw us closer, even though we're a very close family, had a detrimental effect on their link to Jamaica, because I'd now tell them that the street which they told me about doesn't exist anymore, the building's gone, and by telling this information I was slowly erasing their memories and slowly erasing their link to Jamaica, which was, I guess, defined by these memories. And I guess in one sense I ended up documenting my dislocation from this space, and it was a really strange experience. I found Jamaica an intriguing place, in the sense that it's still living with the legacies of colonialism. All of the structures put in place to define identity still linger on there. And the legacies of colonialism are powerful and potent, and they still define the lives of people born many years after independence. It's fundamental right now that people tell their own stories. In the history of photography, the black body has always, not always, has in many cases been represented in terms of otherness, indifference. And there's perhaps a lack of humanity depicted within lots of those visualizations. And in many respects, that's why I began this body of work, was to create a legacy to that generation who came over here in the 50s, who, they weren't immigrants, they were British citizens. It's important for me to tell my story, for me to hopefully create opportunities for other people who look like me to tell their own particular stories. I think one thing I should say is that this work isn't over, this work continues. The idea of black experience should be described in one which isn't a monolithic experience. There are, I guess, multiple various narratives of blackness, and which need to be explored and documented. More than anything, I'd like this exhibition to be perhaps not to give answers, but to ask questions, but also to share a common experience, that we're all of us, black, white, whatever we come from in the world, we are going through life on this journey. We're all on the journey to find a sense of home, a sense of belonging, but also to find ourselves, I guess. I hope within this exhibition there are those universal questions which everybody can find something.